So we're all set.
Yes.
Okay, so one of the first things I want to do is show you guys my studio. So you can see part of it. I've set up some cupcakes paintings that I've done to inspire our painting today. I have my supplies set up. You can see some of my fun, crazy paintings in the back. I have a couple Wayne Thiebaud books. But one of the things I really want to show you, you're going to see Jenna again, is that I love to do lots of drawing and painting practicing. So on this wall over here, right behind Jenna, you can see all of my drawings taped up on the wall. So I thought that'd be kind of fun for you guys to see. I like to draw or paint at least 5 times a week to kind of stay inspired every day and feel like, just like you would exercise or do a practice. That's what I like to do with my Frog Happy practice. Okay, so with that, today we are going to paint a cupcake inspired by Wayne Thiebaud. Wayne Thiebaud is one of my favorite artists. He lives out in California, and Wayne Thiebaud just celebrated his 100th birthday. Did you guys hear that? Wayne Thiebaud, our artist, turned 100 last year. So he is known for his pop art, and what pop art means is he paints popular objects like paint cans and lipsticks and gumballs and cakes and pies and of course cupcakes. So I chose to paint a cupcake to celebrate his 100th birthday. Does anybody have a birthday in April? Yay! Me too. Hi, Juniper. Anybody else having a birthday in April?
Excuse me. My birthday is April 6th and I'm turning 6.
Oh, very cool. All right. Well, happy birthday. So let's go over your paint supplies that you have in front of you. We're going to do a quick warm up with our pencils before we start painting, just to get our muscles moving and to start our concentration. So you should have 3 pieces of scrap paper, and I'd love for you to put those right in front of you to start with your pencil. For painting, we're going to have, you should each have your own blue, it's acrylic paint, a blue, a red, 2 yellows, and 1 white. You're going to have a 9 by 12 canvas, and I heard somebody say that it has sort of a fabric-y side, and that's the side that we're going to use to paint. You have some palette paper. So the paper that we're using that has the shiny part, that is the paper we're going to put our paint on, and that's called palette paper. Each of you should have a palette knife. A palette knife is this plastic knife, and we're going to use that for mixing your paint. We're going to mix 1 color, each of the colors you have, but then we are going to mix a green. And the last thing that each of you should have is a cupcake cutout. And this cupcake has a little bit of a push out, which represents the shadow behind the cupcake. So Wayne Thiebaud is known for his shadows. The other thing he's known for is his vibrating color, and the way that you get his really fun colors is you put pure color next to each other. So you guys can see in the cupcake that I painted here, there's lots of pure color, whites, reds, greens, blues, a warm yellow, and a cool yellow. So those are the colors that we're going to work with. Okay, let's get started. You guys ready? So like I said, we're going to do a warm up. And our warm up, I'd like for you to put your paper so that it is, it's called portrait, so that it goes up and down. And if everybody's ready, I'm going to have you draw a line down the middle of your paper, and you guys can watch me here. So you're gonna start with a line down the middle of your paper. We're doing a warm up with our pencil and our paper. And is anybody, you guys can raise your hand, is anybody a lefty in this group? Do we have any lefties? So everybody uses their right hand? Yes? Okay, so you all use your right hand. So a part of my warm up to get us started, and this can be challenging, but it's a great way to warm up, is you're gonna take your pencil in your left hand. So everybody's gonna start lefty. Yeah, there you go. Switch your pencil. And I'm gonna have you sign your name at the top of the paper on the left side. And you guys can watch me if you want. I am a right-handed painter and drawer, but I'm starting with my left hand. Then you can switch back and sign your name up on the top with your right hand. So at the top, you have your signature with your left, and on the other side, your signature with your right. All right, I love it. I saw somebody already switch back to their left. So we're gonna switch back to their left. And this can be challenging. You're gonna make a circle with your left hand with your pencil. Just one circle. And we're warming up because we're gonna end up drawing a cherry, which is a circle. So you're gonna draw, yes?
I haven't drawn my name with my right hand yet.
Okay, that's okay. You can catch up. We're recording this, so you can always come back and catch up as well later.
Okay.
So that's okay. Just keep up as well as you can. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna draw a square just to warm up.
Draw a circle over here.
So there we go. So you got a circle, a square. Then we're gonna draw some lines. In the cupcake, in the cup of the cupcake, we have lines. So we're gonna practice some lines with our left hand. And you guys can see I just drew some lines. Wow, this is kind of looking like this little squiggly something. And then speaking of squigglies, we're gonna do some squigglies at the bottom with your left hand just to free your hand up. So does everybody feel like this is a little bit of a challenge? And you really have to concentrate. And the cool thing about warming up with your non-dominant hand is that when you get to your right hand, it's even easier. So now we're gonna switch over and we're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna do a circle at the top. You can do the circle about the size of a cherry, because that's how we're gonna start our cupcake. You can do a square. And this should feel a little bit easier. You can do some lines, just like we did before. And then, if you guys look at my cupcake painting right here, I'm pointing to it in one of the things. We're gonna do some swoops with our right hand to practice the frosting swoops, okay? So that's the last thing we're doing is we're practicing the frosting with our right hand. All right, you guys all caught up? The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna, yeah, I like it. Somebody gave me a thumbs up. Y'all with me? Okay, so you're gonna go to your second piece of paper. We're gonna go back to our left hand. And we are gonna practice drawing the full cupcake with our left hand. This can be kind of challenging, but the cool thing is, again, when you get to your right hand, it's gonna be really easy. Or it's gonna be a little bit more easy. So we're gonna start with our left hand, and you guys can watch me. I'm not a lefty, so this can be hard. I'm gonna start with the cherry on the top. I'm gonna do the little stem. Right after that, I'm gonna do the frosting. So I'm gonna do one swoop. I love frosting. Does anybody love frosting as much as I do? I love the frosting. So my cupcakes have lots of frosting. I'm gonna do 3 swoops of frosting. Then I'm gonna do another little extra one. Right below that, I'm gonna draw the cake. And the cake is just showing the top of the cake with the cupcake. I'm still using my left hand. And then what's holding the cupcake together but the cup of the cupcake? I'm gonna do 2 diagonal lines. And then if you guys can imagine a cupcake or look here at mine, imagine the cup. The cup has these little jagged lines at the top. So I'm making those little lines with my left hand. And at the bottom, it's a little circular bottom. So this is the process that we're gonna do, the exact same thing with our right hand. And hopefully you guys are with me, okay? So we're gonna go to the next page. And if anybody's behind, that's okay. You guys can always come back and catch up. So, oh, I forgot one thing. I need to connect my swoopy frosting on this side. So I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna go back and connect the frosting. There we go. Now it looks like frosting, right? And lots of it. Okay, so we're gonna go to the right hand and we're gonna do the same thing. And you can do it a little bit more quickly if you'd like. Okay, so we're gonna start with the cherry. There's the cherry with the stem. We're gonna go to the swoopy frosting. 1, 2, 3, and then another swoop for some frosting underneath. I'm gonna connect it. Then I'm gonna make my cake that's underneath the frosting. Then I'm gonna place the cup right under there. My cupcake is nice and big. And then I'm gonna make the little jaggeds at the top for the cake, for the cup. And for this one, and you'll see this on your cutout, I'm gonna do the lines that go down on the cup. And I think you guys can imagine, you've probably each had a couple cupcakes, right? I have. I love cake and I love frosting. And you can kind of imagine what that cup looks like. All right. Who's with me? Let's see some hands. You guys all with me? Okay, good. So we're gonna move to, now that you're all warmed up, we're gonna move to the canvas. And I wanna make sure you know you have an option. You can draw your cupcake freehand, just like we did. You can use your pencil and draw it freehand right onto your canvas. Or if you prefer, you can take your cupcake cutout and you can put that there and you can trace it. So I'm gonna show you how I'm tracing mine. And that's what I'll do is I'll use that since we already warmed up. So it looks like a couple people are gonna do it freehand and it looks like a couple people are gonna trace. So I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna trace mine. I think I told you guys before that Wayne Thiebaud, the artist that is inspiring our cupcake, he likes to put shadows. He's sort of known for his shadows actually of his objects. So for this one on our canvas, we're gonna add that shadow from the cutout. So I've got it on there. And then I'm gonna do the same thing we did with our warm up. I've got my cherry here. I'm gonna fill in behind my cutout. And then I'm gonna add my, oops, I think I missed one of my swoops. There we go. So once you guys have your cutout traced, I'm gonna look at the lines on the cutout and I'm gonna add the frosting swoops. And there's 3 swoops and then there's one little bit of frosting underneath. And you can look right on your cutout and see that. Then you've got the cake part. And what's missing is the jagged edges of the cup. So I'm gonna add those in. I'm gonna add the line of the cup. And then I'm gonna take my lines from the bottom down, just like a cupcake cup would be. And those lines actually represent the creases in the cupcake cup. Oh, did anybody see what I forgot? The cherry has a stem. So let's add the stem at the top. And you can make your stem go any direction you want. Okay, I think everybody's catching up. Everybody's with me, right? So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna get our paints out. So what I'd like you to do is have your palette paper in front of you. I'm gonna move my scrap pieces and my practice papers out of the way. I'm gonna push my canvas to the side a little bit so I can show you how I'm setting up my paint. We are ready to paint. Now that we've got everything warmed up, you should feel comfortable and ready to roll. So I'm gonna start with my red. And I'm gonna put it, I've got my palette paper, you guys can see. I'm gonna start with my red and then I'm gonna go yellow. Oops, I'm gonna go red, yellow, yellow. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a space for some green that we're gonna mix. And I'm gonna put my blue. So you guys can watch me. Here's the red. I'm gonna put a nice little blob of paint there. The red is gonna represent the cherry. And then there's also gonna be some red in the frosting. We're gonna make the frosting have a little pink in it. Then this is a warm yellow. We have two yellows. We have a warm yellow, which we're gonna use for the cupcake part. And you guys can imagine a vanilla cupcake has that sort of warm yellow color. Then we're gonna go to our cool yellow. And we're gonna use this yellow as our highlights on the cupcake. It's a nice bright yellow and it gives it those fun highlights. Okay, for all of you guys who have mixed paint before, it looks like I can see some of you guys are trying to catch up. We're gonna take on the next space, we're gonna have a teeny bit of yellow. Well, not a teeny bit. We're gonna have a bunch of yellow and then a little bit of blue, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix a green there. So does everybody know that yellow and blue make green? Or maybe they make purple. Or maybe they make pink, they make green. So yellow and blue make green. Then the last part here, I'm gonna put some blue. So we should have on your palette paper, red, warm yellow, cool yellow, a place to mix some green. We're gonna use our palette knife, and then the blue. Okay, this is a really important next step. We are gonna put lots of blobs of white out. So you should have a tube of white, and we're actually gonna use all of the white in your tube because we've got lots of frosting in the cupcake. You can see here as I'm pointing to the cupcake here, we're gonna put lots of white here and we're gonna use lots of whites in the actual cup. So I'm gonna take 3 big blobs of white. We need this white to be nice and clean. So we're gonna do 3 big blobs of it. This one here. See how they kind of all catching up. Oh, somebody working on getting the cap off their paint? Listen. Can you make that bigger? No. Okay. All right, we're back. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do now, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our palette knife. Here's our palette knife. Each one of you guys should have one. And we're gonna mix that green so that we have 5 colors that we're using. And I'm gonna carefully mix the blue and the yellow, and I'm gonna try to keep it all in one place. So part of what we're doing today is we're staying nice and neat. And the reason we're staying nice and neat is we want lots of pure color to show up on the canvas. So sometimes when you paint, the colors can get muddy if you mix your colors up too much. So we're gonna try to keep them as pure as possible. So hopefully everybody's got a really pretty green. I'm gonna add a little bit more yellow to mine to make it nice and bright. A little blue will make it a little darker green, and a little yellow will make it a nice bright green. So I want a nice bright green for mine. Okay, the next really important step in my painting process that I'm sharing with you is I'm gonna take one of these, one of the napkins, I'm gonna fold it and I'm gonna hold it in my left hand. And I'm gonna show you guys why, because we're trying to stay nice and neat today. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wipe my palette brush off, my palette knife, and I'm gonna put it to the side. We're not gonna use that anymore, so we're just gonna put that to the side, but I wanna make sure it's nice and clean. Okay? So I like to take the napkin, fold it in half, and I'm gonna hold this in my hand the whole time. Actually, you know what? Since we just did that, I'm gonna get a nice new clean one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this to clean our brush and our palette knife throughout the whole process. We're gonna try to keep our brushes nice and clean. Okay. If everybody's ready to start, guess what? We're gonna start painting. So you can move your paints out of the way, your tubes of paint. I'm gonna bring my cupcake back. I'm gonna move things around a little bit so that it's easy for me to access the paint and you guys can see what I'm doing at the same time. Okay, so in your kit, we have 2 brushes. So the first brush is called a round brush, and it's the one that's smaller and it has the pointy top. So this is called a round brush. And if anybody can guess, we're gonna use this for the outlines that show in the cupcake. So if you look here again, I'm pointing to the cupcake. We're gonna use this smaller brush for the greens, for the yellows. We're actually gonna use it for the cherry. We're gonna use it for the stem. And then we're gonna use it for all those highlights on the cup. The big brush is called a flat brush. And we're gonna use the flat brush for the white, for the big, thick frosting. We're gonna put lots of white on there to finish up at the very end. Okay, so we're gonna start with our small brush. What I'd like you to do is dip it in a little bit of water. We're gonna start with the red. Dip it in just a little bit and just pull a little bit of that red paint, and you guys can watch me the way I do it. We're using the paint in a very thin way to start. So I want your brush to have a little bit of water and a little bit of red paint. You don't need a lot. And we're gonna start and we're gonna paint that cherry. Piece of cake, wait, no. Piece of cupcake. So we're gonna start by painting the cherry in. I love that bright red color. The next thing we're gonna do is once you've got that painted in, and you guys can catch up or follow along as you wanna go at your own pace. You guys can always come back and watch the recording. The next thing I'm gonna do is, and you guys can see in the cupcake picture right here, is we're gonna go down the side and we're gonna highlight what would be the shadow side of the frosting. And we're going the opposite way of the swoops that we did earlier when we drew it in. And at the very bottom, the icing that's at the bottom of all the icing, I'm actually gonna fill that in with some red because that's gonna be the darkest part. You guys can see I'm actually gonna fill a little bit more in here. So this is gonna be the white frosting, the highlighted part of the frosting. And when we put the white on, it's gonna turn nice and pink on this side. And we're gonna have our red outline. There's a lot of work to be an artist, isn't it? I can see you guys following along. Good job. There's lots of concentration at the DeMello's house. Good job, you guys. Okay, the next step is we're gonna go to the cake. So the reason you have 2 waters is the first water you're gonna use always to clean your brush off. I dip my brush into the water and then I'm gonna use the towel in my left hand and brush it off. And then I'm gonna use the clean water to dip it in. because we're trying to have really pure color everywhere in the cupcake. So now we're gonna go to the warm yellow. Pretty good for time. And we're gonna fill in the cupcake. So this should be fun. You guys have that little jagged edge, you can go in there, stay under the frosting. The frosting is gonna end up being white and pink. And again, I'm dipping my brush in the water, and then I'm getting kind of thin paint and putting it in and filling in the cupcake part. This doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes when things have little funny lines, they actually even look more fun in artwork. So you can fill it in as well as you'd like and leave some little extra marks. We're gonna come back on that in a little while. We're gonna do lots of layers on this cupcake. So the next step, you guys can get ready, is we're gonna clean that brush off again. We're still using the small brush. We're gonna clean the brush off. And now we're gonna go to the blue. We're gonna skip the bright yellow and the green that's on your palette. We're gonna go right to the blue. So my brush is nice and clean again. And I'm gonna go to the blue. And the way I'm gonna use the blue is I'm gonna use the blue to create the shadows on the cupcake cup. So I'm gonna start on the right-hand side, and I'm gonna go down and draw those little lines that we drew in on the cup. You guys can follow along and look at me, or just kind of do your own thing. So you're outlining cupcake with the blue, and you guys can see what I'm doing here. And by the way, I just dipped my fingers right in the white paint by mistake. So for everybody to know, you can wipe this paint off with water, soap and water later. So you can see my little smudge mark. That's okay. Okay, so I'm also gonna do the jagged part with the blue. So right now, we're still just doing outlining with our small brush. And then the very last thing I'm gonna do with the blue, and Wayne Thiebaud is known for this, like I said earlier, is I am going to start to fill in, oh, can you see where I am again? The shadow that falls behind the cupcake on the table. And I'm gonna leave a little bit of space between the cup and the shadow, whoops. And then you can see I'm dipping my brush into the water and the paint. Just see if I can get it on there nice and thin for now. We're using thin paint and thick paint today. And right now we're still on the thin paint. And I left a little bit of space between the cup and the shadow because I'm gonna put a fun little highlight right there. I'm also going to add a little bit more blue under the cup and connect the shadow. And if you guys can do a little experiment later, whenever you have an object, and you can see this on my, you can see the cup has a shadow here, and you can actually imagine there's actually even a shadow under the cup. Can you see that? Well, you can't quite see that here. So there's a little shadow where the cupcake sits on the table, and then the shadow behind. Okay, now this is the fun part. Clean your blue, well, that's not the fun part. Clean your brush off. I've got it in the water. I'm gonna use my left hand with the towel and clean it off. I'm gonna put my small brush to the side, and now we're ready for some thick white paint. All right, ready? Let's go for it. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna dip my big brush right in the white paint. And the very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the very edge of this big brush You guys can watch, and I'm gonna put a highlight on the cherry, a nice thick blob of white for the highlight on the cherry. That kind of makes that fun. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure I still have lots of thick paint, and I'm gonna start to draw that thick frosting in. And what I'd like to see you guys do is really move your brush around and see if you can pick up some of the red. So unlike the green, we mixed the color green on our palette, but now we're using the paint nice and thick, and we're mixing a color on the canvas. So you're moving that white around into the red, so you should get a nice pink at the edge where the, I forgot to say this earlier, we're kind of pretending that there's a light coming from this side of the cupcake, shining from left to right. So the side on the right is the darkest part of the cupcake, and the side on the left is the brightest. So hopefully you guys can see I've got some nice dark pink on the right and some nice thick white on the left. And I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to put that in nice and thick. So Wayne Thiebaud is known for this. This is called using paint in an impasto way. Not pasta, impasto. Jenna just said, pasta? Jenna's behind me. Jenna, are you painting a cupcake?
No, but I'm gonna do it later.
Okay, so I told you guys earlier that we're gonna clean our brushes in between. So we're gonna do that now, because what you'll see, if you're following along with me, you've got lots of white paint, but you picked up the red. So I'm gonna get that white and the red paint off so I can go back to pure white. Now, for whatever it's worth, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you do get a little red or a little yellow in your paint, that's okay. So I'm gonna take that thick white paint again, and hopefully you put lots on your palette. This is a time to have fun with lots of paint. And we're gonna go and we're gonna paint in between those blue lines, and we're gonna make the white of the cupcake cup. And you can let the colors mix right on your canvas. So you can see, if you're looking at mine, where the blue and the white meet, it's kind of creating some kind of fun mixture of the blue and the white as I'm moving my brush down. So I want you to go from top to bottom with that thick white paint. I didn't think I was going to get quiet, but I love concentrating on things like this. It's fun. So you can see I'm going back and forth a little bit. I'm trying to get a little of that blue actually to mix in there. And I'm putting more thick paint on, just because I can and it's fun. I've got lots of white on here. So hopefully you can see that. I wonder if you can see that. I'm gonna hold that up a little bit. So you guys can see, if you look, you can see that paint is nice and thick on there. And see where the white and the red made a pink, and a little bit you can see where the white and the blue made a little bit of a lighter blue. Okay. So even though shadows a lot of times look like they're dark, 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 we're gonna put a teeny bit of a highlight on our shadow. So I'm gonna take a little bit more white. It's not quite as thick as the other white, and I'm just gonna kind of bring it over the blue. Mine might have gotten a little too white, because I still want that shadow to be blue. I'm gonna go back over that in a little bit. So even shadows have a little bit of light bouncing off of them. And what I just created was this sort of light blue with a dark blue around it for the shadow. All right, we're gonna put the big white gloopy brush away and we're gonna go back to our small brush. And this will be kind of the last time that we're building layers. And now we're gonna use the bright yellow. And actually, we're gonna use the green and the bright yellow now, and maybe a little bit of blue. So I just cleaned my brush off. I still have this paper towel in my left hand and I'm gonna wipe it off so I can put it to the side. And by the way, sometimes I'm a sloppy painter, but the way that Wayne Thiebaud paints, again, you want this color to be nice and pure. So we're trying to be careful the way we put the paint on there. Except for the thick globby paint, you put that on nice and thick. Okay, so I'm going back to my small brush. I'm gonna get it a little bit wet again. Actually, I'm gonna dip it in the clean water. If you still have your water still a little bit clean, it's okay if it's getting some color to it. And I am gonna use the green sort of in a thin way. You can see I'm going back and forth and I'm putting a little water on my brush, a little bit of paint. I'm trying to thin it out a little bit so that when I put it on my canvas, it'll do a nice line. And the first thing I'm going to use the green for is the stem of the cherry. So that's an easy one, right? And a fun one, nice swoopy line. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to highlight the cherry and the frosting. So the cherry and the frosting are both kind of red. And the opposite of red is green on the color wheel. So I bet most of you guys know that. On the color wheel, we have red and then the opposite is green. So to really make that red pop, on the right-hand side, we're gonna do a nice fun green outline, and it's not gonna really touch the red. It can touch the red a little bit if you want, but it's just the outline of the cupcake and the frost of the cherry and the frosting. And if you guys have the picture of the cupcake there, you can also be looking at that. The sample that we sent in with your package, with your supplies. Okay, so that's the green. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to, you gotta stick with me, I'm gonna keep cleaning my brush. So I'm gonna clean my brush off again. I'm gonna put a teeny bit of blue as a highlight on the cake. The opposite of sort of that yellowy cake. It's really more of a purple blue, but we don't really have purple blue on our palette, so we're just gonna use a nice pretty blue. I'm gonna clean my brush off again. It's a lot of cleaning. And the last thing we're gonna do for the cupcake highlights right now is we're gonna use lots of yellows. So we're gonna do the shadow warm yellow on the cake part, and on the cup. I'm gonna start on the right side, and I'm just gonna go over and I'm gonna put some fun little yellow highlights, and I'm dragging it through the paint, and that's okay. You could just get a sense of those fun yellow highlights on the cupcake. And I put it right over that white thick part. I'm gonna clean my brush, and now I'm gonna do the cool yellow also on the cake or the cupcake cup. So we're using the color to outline and highlight. Shadow and highlight, actually. And now while I have that bright yellow on my small brush, I'm gonna go back up to the frosting and I'm gonna highlight the frosting on the left side, just like we did with the green. Now I'm doing that on the left side of the frosting with the yellow. And actually I put it right on the cake part too. I see lots of brushes moving and cleaning and filling in. And then I can see a top of a head looking down and concentrating. I see somebody walking around in the background. I wonder where Mrs. Cody is. Okay. Hopefully you guys are kind of caught up with me. I'm gonna leave my cherry without a highlight on the left. I think it's really cool that the red kind of stands out on its own. But one thing I am gonna do is I'm gonna highlight, I'm gonna put the opposite of the green. I'm gonna put a little bit of red. You guys do not have to do this, but I'm gonna put a little bit of red underneath the green on the stem to make that pop out. And it's okay if your colors touch. It's actually kind of fun that they mix on your, whoops, that they mix right on your canvas. And you can see the way they mix. Okay, now the fun part. And you guys can, oh, actually, I forgot something. I'm gonna take some extra colors now. And if you look at the cupcake picture that was in your package, or you can look right here, underneath the cupcake and around the shadow, there's some fun reds and yellows and greens. And I'm gonna really highlight those now, just kind of have fun with putting those colors on there. I'm gonna start with some yellow. And I'm gonna go underneath and around. And then I'm gonna clean my brush. I think I'm gonna get some green, why not? Because it's fun. And I'm gonna go around that shadow. And then the very last one, I'm gonna end with some red. And I'm gonna really highlight the bottom, really make that pop out. That's kind of fun. And whoever is ready and would like to do a background, I'm gonna start doing my background. Now, if you guys are behind, you can keep highlighting, you can keep putting your white paint on thick, you can go back and add more white paint to the frosting. You can add a little bit more white paint on your cup if you want. You can go back in, you can add a little bit more yellow to make your cake stand out a little bit more if you want to fill that in a little bit more. Ooh, I missed a highlight. I also had a little bit of a red highlight on the top of my cake on the cup. So I'm going to put that in. And you guys can go back and forth and put those highlights in, but we're going to start on the background now. And if you remember, I told you to put lots of thick white paint out. So we're going to use lots of thick white paint in the background. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to think about where my background is. And if the shadow, you guys are looking at the cupcake painting that I have up in front of me, if the shadow is on behind the cupcake, the shadow is actually on the table, just like my cup has a shadow, it's on the table. So if this is the background, I want my table to go past where the shadow is. So the bottom part of where we're gonna fill in is gonna be just a little bit higher than the shadow because that's the table. And then above that is gonna be the wall. Now I'm just because I did this before and I liked it, I'm gonna do a green table and I'm gonna do kind of a light blue wall behind it. And I'm gonna use lots of white. So I'm gonna start with some white and put some green on there and I'm just gonna mix it right on my brush and start filling in. And again, I like using it so it's nice and thick and it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just do some nice fun brush strokes. Ooh, this is nice and thick. I like it. And I'm filling it right behind the cupcake with a little green, a little white. I'm mixing it both on my palette, but I'm also mixing it on the canvas. Does anybody have any cupcakes to eat today? Did you bring cupcakes, Jenna? Oh, darn.
I'm gonna go
Okay.
home and make one.
And we are almost done. I'm filling in the bottom here of the table. I love my green. I actually ended up having quite a bright green. I might add a little bit of blue. I'm not being as careful cleaning my brush right now because I kind of like that all my colors are mixing right on my canvas. Did you see my cupcake? Kind of pretty, isn't it? Okay. And the next thing, the last part is I'm gonna put lots of thick white paint. And you can see I'm mixing it right on my palette. Now I'm gonna do the blue background. Lots of thick white paint with blue. And this represents the wall or a cabinet or wherever the cupcake is sitting up against. Water out of here. I even got a little bit of the green in with the blue. It actually looks really pretty. So everything's nice and clean. It's not turning muddy. It's just turning with lots of fun kind of colors together. Is anybody doing their background yet? Yeah? You're doing it? Oh, good.
Sunset. I saw last night a orange sunset. So I'm making my background orange. I love that color orange. So I'm doing
Cool. Okay.
I love it.
All right, good. Thank you. And I am almost out of my white paint because I used it nice and thick like Wayne Thiebaud. And you guys can always put more paint down if you need it from your tubes if you run out. And the very last thing I'm gonna do, I've got my background and my table. Just like the cupcake, I'm gonna add a nice fun highlight between the two. I'm gonna do, what should we do? I'm gonna do a yellow line. Ooh, that looks cool. A yellow line. Maybe I'll do two yellow lines. I'm cleaning my brush off and then I'm gonna do another yellow line. Why not? But that's kind of cool. So that's where the table and the wall meet. Okay. Ooh, we have one more thing to do. I see Jane has taken over for the Beckers. How's your cupcake going, Jane? Are you? I love it. Oh, there we go. Ooh, that looks very nice. I love all that frosting on there.
That is the 4-year-old rendition.
Oh, it's perfect. I love it.
She had to go take a popsicle break.
Oh, well,
And
that's
this is
important.
Hannah's.
Ooh, wow,
Yeah.
that looks great. I
And
like.
I think I'm gonna add like, and then I think I'm gonna add like a light pink for the rest of the background.
Oh,
Good
good.
idea,
Oh, that'll
honey.
be really nice. That's
I
really
like
nice.
that, honey.
Thank you for showing me.
Mallory,
Anybody else want to hold theirs up?
wanna hold yours up, honey? There you go.
Wow, that's so cool. Oh, I wish I could see it in person. That's so
Mallory.
cool. That's really
See?
pretty. I'm so glad that you guys added that blue shadow in the background. Sometimes it makes it look so 3D, doesn't it?
This one, honey. Yes.
Very cool.
She knows Wayne Thiebaud.
She does.
She studied him in school.
No.
No? Oh, I'm wrong.
Grandma, but you know everything else is, you're right about everything else, maybe just not that.
That's right.
Aw.
Oh, it was Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
Oh, Andy
Jesus.
Warhol. Andy Warhol painted at the same time that Wayne Thiebaud did in the 1950s and 60s. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we did a pop art project for
You
it.
did? Oh, cool. What was what did you paint for your pop art project? What was the object?
I did the word and it was fizzle.
Oh, cool. Well, that's very
And then
fun.
I added bubbles to it and made the letters look cool, and we put it on a 3 different sheets of paper with like newspaper in the background.
Wow, very fun. Yeah, with pop art, they did a lot of things to like sort of mimic advertising along with objects. So that's really neat. You did the words.
Yeah.
All right, we do have one more thing to do, and that's sign our painting. So whenever you guys are ready, you can wait for your paint to dry. I'm gonna go ahead and sign mine. I signed it on the bottom left, and I chose to do that. You can see the one that I sent to you, the picture of it. I just felt like my signature looked kind of cool there, but you can sign it anywhere you want, and you can sign it in any color. I signed it with the red because I thought it was fun that it went, and actually Jane knows who else signs their paintings in red. George Van Hook. So I'm gonna sign my name right in the bottom left, and then we are gonna be all done. And I would love it if you guys are ready, you can also, some more you guys can hold your painting up and show me. I'd love to see. So there's my signature, and we're done. Well, we're not done. I gotta go make some cupcakes. There's another one. Oh, I like the pink that you added. That looks really nice. That's great. Oh, there's lots of pink in that one. So is that Lene? Oh, that's so pretty. That dark pink in the background really makes the white frosting. Wow. Okay, that is at the DeMello's house.
So Callie.
Callie. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. That looks so good.
It's special, Jennifer.
Wow, I like the way that you mixed your pinks, the white and the red to make that frosting, and your lines in the cup look really cool. Ooh, I see somebody else. Who's that? Is that Leon? Oh, that's Juniper. Ooh, I like your blue cupcake cup. That's so cool, and that bright red cherry.
Yeah, she's saying that. She likes
I made the blue lighter.
Oh,
Yes.
I missed, who was that? Who was next to, who just held their cupcake up?
Oh, was that Jade?
Okay.
Jaden, we do yours again? Oh, very cool. You got lots of yellows in there and reds, and I like the green on the table.
I didn't finish it yet though.
But you're gonna keep working on it, I hope? Keep working on it, because you can do some more fun outlines and finish the background. And then who's this here?
That's Izzy.
Izzy, will you show me yours? Maybe.
I'm not done.
You're not done? That's okay. So you keep working on it, okay? Does anybody have any questions? I know everybody's muted again, but
Yeah.
do you want to add anything? Okay, for anybody who's there, and you might have any questions, you can always send me an email, and I'm gonna tell you my email, and then it'll be in the recording. So if you have any questions, my email is my first name. Oh, I love that pink. And it's Jennifer, Jennifer, and then my business is Frog Happy, ooh, I like that one, now I see it. Frog Happy, FROGHAPPY.com. And I can also give you some hints about if you want to get a frame for your really cool cupcake. So be sure to let me know if you have any questions, you guys, okay? And keep painting. I'm gonna paint until I'm 100 like Wayne Thiebaud. All right, I think we're good. All right, Jenna, do you want to sign us off? Will you guys all give me some waves, pretty please, and thank the library for all your supplies. Make sure, thank you. Make sure you clean your brushes and put all your paints away. Ooh, I love it. Oh, everybody's unmuted. Yay!
Thank you so much for joining us
Unmuted
on
it,
Jennifer today.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye
Jennifer.
bye, guys. That was
Thank
fun.
That was wonderful.
Aw, thank
Thank
you.
Come on, say hi.
you.
Come on, say
Bye,
hi.
guys.
Thank you.